of the internet, I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where together we're going to create some awesome comics, because this is Making Comics 101, and this is another Making Comics 101 quick tip. So the tip for today, this whole week we're talking about comic book cover design, and you know, one of the aspects of being a comic book creator, or one of the positions, I guess you would call it, it's more of a freelance thing, I guess. I don't know if it's technically a position, but one of the jobs, however you want to put it, that a lot of people would love to have in the comic book industry as an artist would be to be a comic book cover artist. And because if anyone is at all familiar with comics, you know that it takes a lot of time, and doing sequential art is just, it's a very involved thing, and some people just like to draw cool stuff. So what better way to do that than as a comic book cover artist? Now that's sort of an area that's it's very highly desired. A lot of people would just love to only draw covers, so there's not a whole lot of people that get to do that. I mean, I'm thinking people like maybe Art Adams or Adam Hughes or Alex Ross, people like that. You know, they pretty much exclusively do covers. So it's very hard to get to a point where that's what you get to do. However, there is sort of a roundabout way that you can do covers for some of these bigger comic book publishers. And I've been approached to do stuff like this, and I've had friends and acquaintances who've also worked on these covers. And what these are like the variant covers. And you'll see these, and basically what it is, it's sometimes if it's an event like a convention or even a comic book store. I was approached by my local comic book store to do a cover like this, and what it is they will order a variant cover of a particular issue of a comic from a major publisher, and they'll set it all up. You know, they basically contact the publisher, they'll work with the artist. In this case, that would be me or you. Hopefully it goes without saying that you have to be somewhat of a competent artist. It has to be of professional quality, even if you're not working in the comic book industry. If you can look at your artwork and say, hey, I may have trouble breaking into comics, but I know my artwork is good enough. Those are two different things. So if your artwork is at that level, then this is something that you could probably figure out with the right people, whether it's a comic book store or a convention or something like that. So anyway, the comic book store or convention will contact the comic book publisher, and they'll figure out a title. Maybe there's a title that's coming up, or maybe it's something for a particular event. So they have to give them a timeline, and then you will work with them to deliver sketches and concepts and everything. And of course, it all has to be approved. But this is a way it's good for the comic book stores. And my local comic book store does this quite a bit, because they can get these very small runs which they sell more. It's one of those things where a typical issue #1 or something like that, there's so many of them printed that they're really not going to be of any value. But when you get these smaller runs, these exclusive covers, they're highly sought after. So not only can you get customers that go into your store to purchase these, and you know, they go for a premium price. It's not just the regular cover price, because they are rare. But you can also sell these editions online to people that don't even necessarily shop locally or whatever. And there's people out there that are looking for these exclusive low quantity covers. And a lot of that does have to do with not only the title, but also the artist. So if you are a well-known artist, even if you're not necessarily in comics, if you're a well-known artist in another area or whatever, or it could be just a particular style. If maybe you don't have that typical comic book style, maybe you're more cartoony. There are all kinds of titles and publishers that do these different things. Or maybe if your work is not typically what you might see on a particular comic book, say if you're doing something like I don't know, like say like an IDW title, like a G.I. Joe, and you've got a very cartoony style, maybe that would be something that would be a fun departure from what they normally do that people might like. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. Typically they try to match the artist with the title. This is an option, and it is a good way to get a professional comic book sort of credit under your belt and get paid by the comic book store. And again, they can turn around and they can hopefully make a profit off of these low numbered things. And it just depends on your comic book store whether this is something that they do or not. Anyone, even yourself, you could approach a comic book publisher and go through all this process. I mean, it's not that easy. I've never done it myself. I would prefer to let somebody else handle all that stuff. But if a comic book store can do it, and if you're gonna have to have some sort of a way to, if you're going to do this on your own, to make sure you sell these, because otherwise, you know, this could cost around, you know, $2,500 in order to do this. And if you can't go, if you don't have a means to go and sell those, then you're probably going to be in trouble. But that's why, you know, you would talk to your local comic book store or convention or organizer or something like that. And, you know, maybe this is some way for you to get your artwork on a comic book cover. And it's a nice piece that you can kind of show around and maybe even use that as a way to get into doing more comic book work. Although usually comic book publishers, they're not really looking for cover artwork, because honestly, anyone, because it's I don't want to say it's simple, but compared to doing the sequential art, it's fairly easy to come up with a cool idea for a comic book cover. The real difficulty comes into the storytelling aspect. So that's what comic book companies usually want to see. So, you know, one of the advice that they give you when you're trying to break into comics is don't just go there with pinups and things like that. So you also want to have some sequential art in your portfolio. But it is a cool way, it is an option out there to maybe get into doing some comic book covers. Anyway, so that's our quick tip for today, and I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.